"Get off my property," I shouted, only to be told my family's ranch wasn't mine anymore. While I was overseas, the Homeowners Association had forged my signature and sold off 12,000 of our 15,000 acres. 4 generations of work, gone. Bulldozers were already carving through wheat fields my great-grandfather planted. But instead of disappearing, I found their fatal legal mistake and used it to take everything back. I'd just flown home after 6 months on a cybersecurity contract in Seoul. All I wanted was the wind across Wyoming grasslands and a long ride along the eastern boundary of Carter Ridge Ranch. Instead, I crested a hill and saw orange stakes and survey crews. I slammed my truck to a stop. A man in a crisp, hard hat looked up, annoyed, until I marched over. "What are you doing on private land?" I demanded. "Not your land," he said, waving stamped papers. "Summit Vista Developments bought this parcel last month, approved by Maple Creek HOA in Red Bluff County." I skimmed the documents and felt the world tilt. My name, my signature, but it wasn't mine. Within an hour, I was in the meticulously staged home office of Victoria Hale, the HOA president. She slid documents across the glass desk, including a supposed power of attorney. "Completely legal," she purred. "Your grandfather signed the original covenant. You authorized the sale. Judge Whitaker has already approved." "That's not my signature," I said. "And I've never granted anyone power of attorney." Her smile thinned. "Careful. That sounds like slander." On the drive back to the ranch, I called my mother, Eleanor. At 70, she'd moved south for her arthritis, but never stopped being our family historian. "Check your father's old shed," she said. "Floor's safe. He kept the important things there." I found the safe, empty where anything HOA should have been. Someone had been there before me. That night, I walked through the main house and paused at a photo of 4 generations on the porch. I touched my father's face. "Daniel Carter, gone 2 years now." "I won't let them take it, Dad," I whispered. Then I called the only person I trusted for a fight like this. "Morgan Reyes," I said when she picked up. "They forged docs and a judge is in their pocket." "I'm on the road by dawn," she said. "Don't sign a thing." By first light, she was at my kitchen table, coffee in hand, scanning piles of deeds and the HOA's proof. Near midnight, she tapped a finger on a faded paragraph from an old covenant. "Here," she said. This land wasn't ordinary private property under HOA control. It was designated as trust managed with strict conditions. They can't sell it without explicit consent from the Carter heir, while it's an agricultural use. And this power of attorney? The C in Carter is wrong. It's a paste. We mapped the ranch's 15,000 acres and their crazy quilt of stipulations. We discovered Victoria had misrepresented the ground as dormant to fast-track approvals. I called an old colleague, Caleb Nguyen, an IT forensic bulldog. He traced metadata proving that power of attorney was created 3 months earlier and the signature stitched from other documents. The next morning, an HOA restraining order appeared on my door for harassing their members. They beefed up security and tried to box me out of my own land. Neighbors were skittish, but a few whispered what we already suspected. The HOA had become a dictatorship. Morgan dug into financials and found consulting fees flowing from Summit Vista to Victoria before the vote. Textbook conflict of interest. Maybe criminal. One risky night, Caleb and I pulled server logs from the HOA's office. Emails told the story, a 3-year scheme between Victoria and Richard Coleman, the CEO of Summit Vista, and undisclosed past employment ties. There were also payments to Judge Whitaker, who'd blessed the sale. Without scrutiny, we barely slipped out before security arrived. In the scramble, I dropped my phone. We watched from the shadows as Victoria picked it up, reading messages between Morgan and me. "Call Bradley Kent," she barked to someone. "Accelerate the transfer." Dawn to dusk, graders chewed into ground my grandfather had tilled. We filed an emergency stop work order. In Judge Whitaker's courtroom, Bradley claimed I'd abandoned operations. A lie. I had caretakers. Every time Morgan raised evidence, Whitaker shut her down. So she pivoted. "Your Honor, Maple Creek HOA failed to renew mandatory property registrations for a decade. Their authority is in question." Whitaker brushed it off. "Denied." That night, back in my father's shed, the weight almost crushed me. Then Morgan arrived with a county statute that changed everything. The 1963 State Land Act said properties that missed required 10-year HOA re-registration could fall under county reclamation if no formal objection was filed. If Maple Creek HOA had missed its 2015 renewal, everything inside the original HOA boundary might be considered unregistered and subject to county auction. We went to the records office and sat with Albert Granger, a clerk who knew the archives like a second spine. He blew dust off a folder and nodded. Renewed in 1995 and 2005, he said. No record in 2015. He tapped the statute. County reclamation could apply. We moved fast. With Red Bluff County's provisional approval, I used an LLC, Carter Heritage Holdings, to quietly qualify for any auction of unregistered parcels. Meanwhile, Caleb traced more money trails between Summit Vista and the board. Word leaked. Victoria confronted me in a parking lot. You don't know who you're up against. I know the law, I said, and I know what I own. 2 mornings later, suited couriers knocked on doors across the HOA. From a hilltop, I watched as residents opened notices explaining that Carter Heritage Holdings had acquired title to the unregistered residential tracts through a county auction, purchased for a token amount after lawful notice. Phone call, Richard Coleman. What the hell is this? Someone says I'm on their land and owe rent. How's it feel to have your property rights questioned? I asked. We held a press briefing at the subdivision entrance. Cameras rolled as Morgan explained the HOA's registration negligence and the forged sale. I told residents it wasn't their fault. They'd been betrayed by leadership. I gave them choices. Buy at fair market value or join a new community land trust safeguarding their homes and banning predatory development. Inside Victoria's living room, Bradley called my move an abuse of a technicality. But homeowners demanded to know why he never told them about renewal requirements. That was literally his job. Richard cornered me outside and hissed threats. Morgan handed him a restraining order and told him to step back. We filed our claims before Judge Ramirez, who wasn't part of anyone's golf foursome. She peered over her glasses at the HOA lawyers. You skipped a decade of legal obligations. That's not on Mr. Carter. That night someone broke into my house and stole legal files. Unfortunately for them, Caleb had upgraded security and every page they took was a watermark duplicate. The footage showed Bradley Kent rifling my desk at 2:37 a.m. Police searched his home, recovered my copies, and found threads tying Victoria, Bradley, and Richard to the forged power of attorney and the payments to Judge Whitaker. Arrests followed. Public fury exploded. We convened the community. With signatures in hand, residents voted no confidence in the HOA board. Red Bluff County recognized the Maple Creek Community Land Trust, replacing the HOA's tainted governance. Richard tried to distance Summit Vista in a press release. Then Victoria, seeing the walls close in, flipped and blamed him. Bradley, indicted and bitter, corroborated the conspiracy. I stood before a packed room and laid out a future that balanced homes and heritage. The land trust charter required supermajority votes for any big changes, full financial transparency, and ironclad agricultural preservation for the ranch. People wanted stability and fairness. Hands shot up in support. Victoria burst in for one last scene, calling me a thief. Phones recorded as deputies escorted her out. 2 days later, the county nullified the bogus sale of my acreage and returned title to me. Judge Whitaker was suspended pending investigation. The crooked network had finally snapped. Richard approached with one more offer, 3 times market value for the Eastern Tract. Then he doubled it. $60 million, he said. Name your price. It isn't for sale, I said. This is a legacy, not a ledger. A week later, excavators removed Summit Vista's poured footings. Wheat went back into the ground. Reporters called, the Washington Post among them. This wasn't just my win, I told them. It's a win for families who refuse to be steamrolled. Consequences landed where they should. Victoria Hale and Bradley Kent faced prison for fraud and obstruction. Richard Coleman and Summit Vista developments were hammered by regulators for a pattern of predatory schemes. Judge Whitaker was removed while bribery charges advanced. The Maple Creek Community Land Trust became a model other neighborhoods studied. 6 months on, the ranch was alive again. Deer at the tree line, wheat shouldering the breeze, fences mended. Letters piled up from people fighting abusive associations. Morgan said, maybe we build something bigger. She sketched plans for a national nonprofit to help homeowners stand up to bad actor boards. I walked to the small cemetery and laid a hand on Daniel Carter's headstone. We kept it, I said, and we built something better. Then I addressed the community one last time. Titles restored, the land trust enacted, purchase-back options finalized, and every predatory agreement voided. From here on, I said, no one person, me included, can hijack this place. It belongs to all of us who care for it. That is the end of it. The forged sale overturned, the homes either repurchased or protected by trust, the ranch preserved under the Carter name, and a clean governance structure in Maple Creek that can't be twisted again. Justice didn't just arrive in a courtroom. It arrived because we learned the rules better than the people trying to abuse them. And now the land and the community are safe.